real fast.
morning for the Unity North Band back in the house. We have definitely missed them. We've had some beautiful musicians all month, but we have our band back, and that is exciting. So we've missed them. We've loved them. Reverend Richard is taking a breather today, but he will be back soon. But today we have a powerhouse of a singer, Chelsea Douglas, in the house. An amazing talk by Reverend Avril. So we are going to claim that strength and that power and that love and that peace that is going to resonate all throughout service. So on your feet, if you're able, we are about to start with our opening song, God is my source. You can clap, it's all right. I know you feel the groove. All right, God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Love is my source. Love is my source. Love is my power. Love gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Love gives me everything I need. Now we've generated that love this morning, so go ahead and share some love with your neighbor. And wherever you are, thank you for tuning in. We're sharing love with you. Thank you for sharing love right back. I know you've got a lot of love to share. Don't forget to bring it on back so we can raise our voices and song together. All right, we're going to start with peace as my source. My source. Peace is my power. Peace gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Peace gives me everything I need. Joy is my source. Joy is my source. Joy is my power. Joy gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Joy gives me everything I need. Let's say it again. Joy gives me everything I need. Joy gives me everything I need. You may be seated. We've definitely missed them. All right. So that love and that joy and that peace, we're going to take that into a moment of prayer. So I ask you to take a deep breath and let that out. Close your eyes as we get centered. Today, Reverend Avril takes us on a journey of silence. So as we move into the spirit of prayer, we recognize that sometimes in the silence, there is comfort, and sometimes in the silence, there is discomfort. We ask that we are able to call on that strength, to lean into that comfort, to find the comfort in the discomfort, in the silence. Recognizing that when we call on love and peace and joy and God, we are calling on one in the same, that it all resides within us. We are only asking for it to shine even brighter. So we call on that source today as we talk about silence, live in the silence, move in the silence, and recognize that when God is working in us, as us, and through us, sometimes it's through the turbulence, and sometimes it's there in the silence. So let us find that comfort and that strength as we move through this day. Amen. All right. So we have some new folks in the house, I'm guessing. I'm just putting that energy out there that there's someone in here that this is their first time. So we're not going to ask you to sing a song, and not today anyway, because it's the first day, but maybe next week, or dance in the aisles. But you can do whatever your spirit tells you to do. But if this is your first day today, would you raise your hand so we can show you a little love? So we have some new people. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. So just for you, in our tech-savvy community, you can text NEW, N-E-W, to the number that you see on the screen. And I promise we will not bombard you with text, but it just gets you in the know. So you can be a part of this community because it may be your first time today, but from this point forward, you're family. So thank you for being here today. You'll see some people around with badges that say, "How can I help?" And those are perfect people to ask your questions to. Those are welcome team ministry members. And so you can ask them any question. They'll also be downstairs after service, and you can ask as well. Now, you don't have to be new to get our church app, right? We all know that, right? Because some of us did it during service the very first time. So you can scan a QR code and get our church app really quickly. So you can do that right now. If I see you holding up your phones, I won't be offended. I know exactly what you're doing. But if you're not a scan QR code type of person, that's cool too. We got you. Let's go downstairs to Holy Grounds after service, and there are people at a table that will help you get the new app so you can be in the know. One thing you definitely want to be in the know about is what's happening this Friday, which is, what's happening this Friday? Anastasia is in the house on Friday. So we're doing this cool thing. We started a raffle, and 5 people will get a free 20-minute meet and greet with Anastasia. Now, some of you are like, but I already bought my ticket, so how did I get in the raffle? We entered you retroactively. That's how tech-savvy we are. But if you buy your ticket between now and Wednesday at midnight, you will also be entered in the raffle. So let's go ahead and show a video, remind you why, if you haven't bought your ticket, why you really want to do that. So let's cue up that video.
Hi, my name is Anastasia Wesselink Mullering, and in December of 2019, I had a near-death experience. I brought back with me from this experience a profound and life-altering understanding about why we are here in a physical body and what the potential is for us to create a life of peace, love, and joy right here in the physical. Now, to be completely transparent with you, after my experience, I was very reluctant with sharing anything about what I saw or what I came back with knowing with anybody outside of my inner circle. But one thing led to another, and through a series of synchronistic events, I started to tell my story on podcasts, which eventually led me to your community here in the North Atlanta Unity Church. I am incredibly humbled and honored that on August 5th from 7 to 9 p.m., I'm going to be there to share my near-death experience story with all of you and answer any questions that you may have. Truth be told, that an experience like this takes a lifetime to process. So I welcome the dialogue and the questions, because through that, we all learn from this infinite, all-knowing wisdom that's available to all of us. I look forward to seeing you and meeting you on August 5th. Many blessings.
All right, so again, if you have not gotten your tickets yet, you want to make sure you do that, especially by Wednesday at midnight, so you can be in the drawing for a free 20-minute meet and greet with Anastasia. So that is happening this Friday, but before that, on Wednesday, what's happening on Wednesday? Somebody was listening last week. I know they remember. You said Anastasia will be there? That's right, that's right. Meditation, so we'll start with dinner at 6, meditation at 7, and wrapping with the Rev at 7:45. So live back in the house, so this is a beautiful time to get to see people. We know during service you're not really having conversation, but you can if you come at 6 and have dinner with your friends and family. So hope to see you then. And prayer chaplain training happens on August 20th. You register online, and then a chaplain will contact you. So today, we have Brandy and Judy holding space for us, shaping the energy as we go through the service, and with the title of Journey to the Silence. What a beautiful time to honor our prayer chaplain. So if this is something that you feel like you're called to do, you're interested in doing, please go online and register, and you can find out more about being a prayer chaplain. And then we're especially excited about Homecoming Sunday on August 21st. Now, this is happening in the part that I'm about to tell you is happening in Holy Grounds. So we are having this big Sunday so that we can bring people back who haven't been here in a while, celebrate with them and love on them. And one way that we do that is we are going to send them personal cards of invitation. So you may have seen some cards and envelopes out in the foyer when you were coming in. They'll also be downstairs. So if there's someone that you know that hasn't been here in a while, then we can send them a note and personally invite them. Like, how often do we get a letter in the mail? Someone thought enough to put a stamp on something and send it out to us. So sometimes you got to go old school to show a little love. So please feel free to go down to Holy Grounds, fill out a card for someone that you haven't seen in a while, and let's bring them back on August 21st. It'll be fun. Thanks, Brother Atiba. All right, so now I get to stop talking and welcome up this beautiful singer, Chelsea Douglas. The first song that she has for us this morning is called The Glory. So you know it's going to be good. Let's give it up for Chelsea Douglas.
Life's divine expression is rising in you. See your precious vision that calls and answers to. Feel that life is flowing together constantly to unveil the presence for all our eyes to see. The glory, can you see the glory? It's everywhere. There's a radiant presence in God. Embrace the glory. There's an ever-present glory. The glory of God. All of life is moving, supporting our best dreams. Gentle inspiration for sharing love supreme. All of life is dancing with grace and dignity to display a presence for this world to see. Oh, just feel the glory. It's in your soul. There's a radiant glory of God. Open up to your glory. There's a brilliant glory. Ooh.
Thank you so much, Chelsea. And it's my pleasure to invite up our next powerhouse, Reverend Avril. And some of you know Reverend Avril, and some of you, this is your first time hearing about her professionally and personally, so it's my pleasure to give you some more information about her. Avril retains degrees in exercise science, public health, and is an ordained interfaith minister. She trained in traditional yoga meditation and several other modalities. For 25 years, she has been an influential teacher in Atlanta. Currently, she leads adaptive yoga, stress management classes, meditation sittings, and individual interventions for Piedmont Healthcare and Unity North Atlanta. Currently, she is the co-coordinator for the Piedmont Women's Heart Program, where she organizes events and does individual coaching for women with heart disease. She is an active mother, avid meditator, hiker, and holistic wellness advocate. Please welcome me in joining Reverend Avril.
You hear me now, Harry? Good. So these are because I printed in the wrong size font. They don't give you a manual for aging. You know, you turn your middle 40s and you're starting to do this with your girlfriends at the restaurant. And then one of them hands you a pair of readers and you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So this morning I didn't think about the fact that I should probably stretch the font a little bit, and I got up here and was like, So, well, anyway, it feels really great to be talking at Unity North. This is the place where I consider to be my spiritual home, and where I had the amazing karma to explore being a meditation facilitator and a yoga philosophy teacher. And I don't use that word karma lightly. I will talk about that actually a little bit more in my talk later on. And I remember the very first time I volunteered to lead a service on a Wednesday night. I had been instructing in postural yoga for many, many years, and my teacher, who is a traditional teacher in the Himalayan tradition, wanted me to focus more on the internal aspects of the teachings. And now I just am so blessed that I get to do this all the time. As was mentioned in my bio, for those of you who don't know me, my background is Buddhist and yoga philosophy. And yes, Unity is a metaphysical Christian tradition, but it's important to acknowledge that these streams come from a common wellspring. And I think it's important to affirm because there is a cultural tendency towards exoticism and appropriation of Buddhist and yoga philosophy. But in this space, that's not the case. And if you go back to the origins of the Unity movement with the Fillmores, Charles Fillmore was a student of transcendentalism, and that was deeply inspired by Indian philosophy. And furthermore, one of the tenets of Unity is that it is pluralistic. We honor all paths to God, and any path to oneness. And what drew me to this physical space of Unity North was my desire to be in community. So what brought me to Buddhist and yoga philosophy is the logical nature of those teachings. Everything is systematic and very organized. And I'm a scientist, so that works really, really well for me. A to B to C, you get D. And there are beautiful explanations in these teachings, these sibling traditions, about all aspects of our lives, even down to the way that we communicate most effectively with others. When I was originally scheduled to do this talk, it was supposed to be co-led with our Unity North brother, Dr. Jerry Epps. And Jerry, who is also extremely well-versed in Indian philosophy, had some other things manifest in his life that need to be addressed more immediately. So about 2.5 weeks ago, I transitioned from a talk on the wisdom of India to kind of having to think very quickly, and that's not a quick turnover, about what do I want to share. And I think it's always good to go to what's coming up in your own life. And many of you know that, if it's not already apparent, that communication is something that's extremely important and kindred to me. And I'm obviously loquacious. And I strive, sometimes successfully and sometimes unsuccessfully, to be extremely mindful about the words that I'm putting into the world. And previously, I think the last time I was here, I did a talk on nonviolent communication, which is a philosophy of the psychologist Marshall Rosenberg, which is also deeply influenced by numerous universal truths, not the least, if not especially, the Buddhist tenet of right speech. Some of you know I also tend to spend a very limited amount of time on social media. And this community is very into social media. So people say, you know, you didn't see my post, or, you know, I sent you a friend request, and I hope that you don't take that personally. I make a choice to kind of withdraw from that, because I am one of, thank you for my amen. I am one of those people that social media can produce a great deal of anxiety for me. I think it can be a wonderful, wonderful resource, but for some of us, we put a lot of value in, did I get a thumbs up, or did I get a sad face, or they didn't see it, and so it's better for me not to explore it too heavily to maintain my own psychological well-being. And the internet in general, you know, I think it's such a wonderful place. There's this access to infinite streams of information. If it wasn't for the internet, I wouldn't have found my yoga teacher, Swami Janeshvara Bharati, and been able to communicate online. But the other aspect of the internet is this immediate gratification syndrome that has kind of manifested. I want my answer now. And a lot of us kind of falling into sound bites as being our truth. My kids are constantly telling me, I heard this on TikTok, so it's true. And I heard this on Instagram, so it's true. And the information they give me, I love them, but it's completely inaccurate. One of my children told me that there was a second moon orbiting the Earth. And thank you. And I said, lovingly, I don't really think that's correct. And I feel like if they had discovered that, it might be like on every major news outlet. So I was trying to teach them the idea of the credible source and not just, you know, that regurgitation of those little bits of information. And then we went together back over it, and it was just, I don't even know where it was from, but it was just BS, and it was great. So we can chuckle about that now, but I think a lot of us are walking around with sound bites and snippets of truth, and we are using these sound bites and snippets to make major life decisions about who we want to spend time with and how we want to spend our money and what ideas we want to allow to be bred in our deep subconscious. And we seem to be very motivated by impulse and what the Buddhists would call unhealthy passion. So I think it's important to come back to the ideas of what we're putting out in the world and what we're taking in, and the beautiful gift of words. So words are sacred in numerous world traditions, from magic words to mantras. In the beginning was the word, the 99 most beautiful names of Allah. These are gifts, they're tools. The yogis say that they are tools because they are able to be instruments that pull out of your mind, your mental objects, and then you're allowing them to be presented to others. And hopefully you're successful in articulating with the right tool, just like when you're building a house, you have a finishing hammer and you have a hammer for putting up the sheetrock, right? And words can break down and they can build up. And just pause and reflect on a moment where you were absolutely understood by another, really, really understood. And it transcended the state of words. It's a deep intimacy, having someone understand your mind, your consciousness, your being. I remember sitting next to my teacher, Swami J is his nickname, and listening to him talk. And every time he would say something that I would feel at that deep level, I would make this little sound kind of like, You do it, Atiba. That's your amen. And he jokingly said that that was my truth meter. And he said, every time you make that sound, you're hearing something that you know is true. And there was a moment in those that was so sweet because it was real connection. And another one of my teachers astutely says, don't we all want connection? In both Buddhism and yoga philosophy, which are more than kindred traditions, they're sibling traditions. The Buddha was a yogi. There is a tenet of non-harming, and the word for that, the fancy word for that is ahimsa, A-H-I-M-S-A. And it's sometimes translated to mean non-violence, but it would be more accurately translated as not pushing. And I think this is significant because a push is much more subtle than the obviousness of punching someone. Like, it's really easy to say, I'm not violent, I'm not gonna go out and shoot somebody, but are we gonna push? And I know that I push, and I think that's something more powerful to really look at. What am I doing on a daily basis as far as being pushy? This tenet of ahimsa is most famously expressed in the Buddhist and yogic objections to things like the death penalty. It's more subtly expressed in the adherence of many practitioners to things like a vegetarian diet. But harm can be done on much more subtle levels. What about when we are issuing swift retribution in one of my favorite subjects to talk about, but not as much lately because I work from home, rush hour traffic, and someone flips someone else a bird, right? That's violence, isn't it? And it can manifest very ugly, or you just make that other person feel really bad while they're driving along the road. Or this is one my teacher brought up for me, again, Swami Jay, the subtle averting of eyes. Like when you're walking in a hallway and you don't know somebody and you kind of look away, I don't want to make eye contact, I don't want to make eye contact. And he said, you know, why not just pause and have that moment of human connection? So what's worse is that we can even be the most violent in that term, not like beating up, punching, but in the pushing, the aggression to those that we're most intimate with, because there's an expectation of them being tolerant of our bad behavior. And Buddhists and yogis talk a lot about expectation and attachment and kind of getting used to things and thinking things are always going to be the same way. And that's a fantasy, because the one constant is that everything changes. And we devalue what we expect to just be given to us. And when something's a sure thing, and it's really easy to take it for granted, so instead, a suggestion would be to shift into a space of gratitude for this gift, everything being a gift. I turned on the lights today, that was a gift. My beloved is by my side another day, that's a gift. The best description I've ever read on right speech, which I'm going to share with you now, is by a teacher named Krishnan Venkatesh. And this is in his article from the 2018, one of the 2018 issues of Tricycle magazine, which if you have never read before, it's amazing. It's a Buddhist magazine, but it's written for Westerners. So the language is really, really digestible. And he articulates that unskillful speech corrupts us. And this can come about in 4 ways. The first is, and you can go ahead and put that slide on for me, Sebastian. The first is telling falsehoods. And it's by which we deliberately relax our commitment to the truth and eventually even become so tied to subtly evolved fictions that we no longer notice when we might be fooling ourselves. The second is saying things that are certain to cause strife, contention, and bad feelings, thus so destroying social harmony and creating a miasma or a cloud of mistrust, and at the same time turning ourselves into someone who delights in dragging other people down. The third way is uttering words which are designed to hurt and upset, which sows internal strife in those around us and undermines their capacity for contentment. And the fourth destructive way, which may be the hardest for a modern person to understand, is filling precious silence with babble that matters to no one, just to hear our own voices or to cover a silence in which anxiety might arise. I thought that was extremely powerful. Simply stated, the Buddhist would say that our speech should be true, but it also should be edifying, it should be kind, and it should be well-timed. And I think that's such a beautiful idea or set of ideas to kind of ruminate. True. Should we theoretically always strive to be honest? Yes. But the issue here is not about lying. That's the easy part. Like everybody gets this is true and this is a lie, right? But it's using all of the tenets together. I remember being at a breakfast just over at Reveille, and there was a person there who, like myself, is a vegetarian, and they were commenting loudly about how another person's food smelled disgusting because they were eating meat. And I called her out on it, and I said, well, that's just mean. And she said, well, it's my truth. Have you heard somebody say that before? Right. And that is just a way of being nasty and trying to wrap it up. It's like, a lipstick on a pig, right? And that's being mean to the pigs, okay? And I thought, I was like, well, that's not right speech. So I prefer to say right speech than true, because there's a few different factors. What about if it's about timing? I'm a parent, and I've got 4 of them, and 3 are teenage and pre-teenage girls at home. Do you see my halo? And, timing is a big deal, and sometimes I just want to scream in the grocery store, and maybe that's not, sometimes it is the best, but a lot of times it's not. And, right speech gives you an opportunity, a multi-leveled litmus test to think about the words you say and the type of words you're saying, because you can, pause and then think, is this really going to make this person's life better? I even love this with those of you who like to get online, because you can erase, right? You can type, and then you can erase, and then you can pause, then you can type and erase. Who's ever sent a text like that? I have sent like 65 drafts of a text before it went through. I was like, okay, now that's the right one. What if we kind of did that a little more in the three-dimensionality, right? And it's also refraining from things that really aren't important, like who cares if you don't like someone's drapes or their sweater, right? And I'm intentionally keeping this a little bit on the surface because, again, the big stuff is the easier things to look at. Like, again, I'm not going to just push somebody or knock them in the nose, but it's this subtle mindlessness that really is contributing to suffering. And since this is a spiritual center where we like action plans, Sebastian, will you go to the next slide for me, please? It's not enough for me to state the problem, right? We have to talk about, well, we know that there's this mindless speech and this mindless way of communicating that causes harm and suffering. And we've discussed the parameters of what that is. Well, now what can we do about that? And this is not reinventing the wheel. You guys are educated spiritual seekers. But sometimes we need to hear things over and over and over again. That's the idea of repetition, right? That's how you learned as a kid. And it doesn't seem to change as we become adults. So I've kind of came up with 3 ways if you wanted to make that vow. The Buddhists say that you're making a sacred vow when you adhere to the tenet of right speech. That there's 3 ways that you can act on it. There's really infinite ways, but these are 3 that I'm going to share with you. And you've probably heard it a million times before, but I think it's important to go back to the basics and start with gratitude. And gratefulness, and I love that word, and if you've not ever looked at the website, gratefulness.org, with Brother David Steindl-Rast, it's more than this passing thing. Gratefulness is the choice of words he's using. It's a mind state where we're constantly reminding ourselves that everything is a gift. And it bridges into the yogic tenet and the Buddhist tenet of impermanence. Everything is temporary. And when people hear that, they can go into a very nihilistic place with that, like, oh, nothing matters because everything is temporary. You know, it's like my little emo flip or something. And that's not it. It's the opposite. Because everything is temporary, everything is sacred. Every single interaction is absolutely sacred and holy and important. So figure out how to connect with gratitude for the people that you live with on a daily basis, for the people that you engage with on social media who can feel very removed, for the people you dislike and talk about perhaps on social media or with each other, for the miracle that is the electricity that allows us this ease of communication. Allow yourself to be amazed by those little things again. Life is so much more fun when you're excited to flip on the light switch. The Buddhists and the yogis explain that this kind of attitude is wholesome, and it helps, for lack of a better word, to clean our mental landscape. And that's going to be really important when we get to the last of my suggestions, like cleaning the mental landscape. The second one, and if anybody here is a person who's in recovery, is learn to apologize, make amends, because those same words that break down can also be used to edify, remember? And this is a powerful practice. And I mentioned karma before, and this is the way that you clean the karma. You reset the karma wheel. If you're causing harm, acknowledge. And it really doesn't matter, and this I've learned with one of my great teachers, my husband, and my children. It doesn't matter if you think you harmed that person or not. If they're saying you harmed me, harm was done. And it's very cathartic, not just because you make that other person feel better, but kind of selfishly, it removes the false idea that any of us are infallible. Isn't that amazing? I don't want to be perfect. That's a lot of work. Do you really want to hold the world on your shoulders? So anything that goes wrong is your fault if that's happening. Let that go. You know, I don't want to be the Pope, right? Infallibility is not in my job application. Apologize for the old, and you can go back and make it right. And think about how our society would move forward if we would apologize for the insults to the indigenous people, to women, the poor, the former enslaved, right? People are also, I don't want to apologize. I don't want to make amends. Why? Because that makes us feel like we want to be perfect. Let it go. It's okay to make mistakes and move forward. And then the last thing, and this is why you want to do those other steps first, so that when you're in the silence, this stuff doesn't come up and cause you to suffer as well. You have to get into the silence, and that's a capital S. Do you notice that silence is a capital S? That doesn't mean just turn off the TV and it's just quiet. This silence in yoga and Buddhism and unity is the silence that's one and the same as the center of consciousness. It is the source. It is the G-O-D. It's the grand organizing designer. And this silence represents non-duality. And you go to a spiritual center called unity, right? Non-duality. It's all forces being balanced. And it appears to dwell at a local level in the spaces between our thoughts. But truly, it's more than that. It's manifesting as everyone and everything. So for me, the way that I connect with that place that I emerge from and all emerge from, is I do that through meditation. But that's not the only way. You can, just some suggestions: affirmative prayer, nature without the earbuds in, contemplation, taking a quiet nap in the sunroom. Any of these things that bring you into that womb-like space. But the idle chit-chat is a big deal, and it doesn't have to be happening with others. That's the crazy thing. It can be, thank you for laughing. Like some of us play online Scrabble, okay? That's my little vice. And some of us tinker, right? And some of us watch Netflix, but it's just the stuff that we're doing that's filling up time, right? What are we afraid of in that vacuum of time? It's us that we're afraid of, isn't it? These are all ways that we're ignoring and placating that hamster, or sometimes it's called the monkey. And they may give you, these things are little moments of relief. They're little false sensations of peace, but the thoughts return. We have to work on allowing and accepting and understanding that we're all subject to both painful and pleasant thoughts. And this is the beauty of the mind. It creates infinitely. As Rumi said, let these thoughts and emotions in. Welcome them in. Meet them at the door laughing. They may be clearing you out for a new delight. So we're going to do a practice after I finish this portion of the talk. And a way that you may become more comfortable in the silence is the utilization of mantra. And everyone in here has heard mantra Om. We've heard Om. I see it on t-shirts. I see it on stuff all the time. Somebody gave me a little rock and it said rolling with my Omies. And I keep it on my desk and it makes me laugh. Okay. So I was like, aha, that's so nerdy in yoga. Yay. And the reason that particular sound, that sacred syllable is shared is it's actually a roadmap. It's telling you how to get into the silence. When you invoke this mantra, there are 3 parts to it. And there's something that sounds a little bit like you're saying oh or ah, depending on how you pronounce it, right? When you first say om, the first sound is that oh. And that actually represents the waking world of physical expression. It's like our body and the trees and the plants and all of that. And then the sound transforms into something that sounds a bit like ooh, right? It's om, right? And that ooh represents the astral plane. It's if those of you who are into your chakras, it's that level of conscious, the subtle body. And then the M sound, that represents the deep, subtle plane of dreamless sleep. It's the place where our karma is stored. It's the place where our habits are formed, the karma shaya, the subconscious plane. And after that, there's silence. So that is the place where everything emerges from. When you say Om, the silence is actually what we're going towards. And mantras work as a tool to hold your mind in that silence. So I want to leave you with a few words before we go into a meditation, which most of you know is the thing that I love to do most, and I'm going to get to hopefully get you to share with me now. May the nectar, can you put the last slide? Thank you, Sebastian. He's amazing. He's like so ahead of it. He spends a good bit of time in the silence. May the nectar of kindness touch our lips as we speak. May we find ourselves the vast blue sky of inclusiveness. May our hands turn the wheel of time to a more just world, a more beautiful world, a world worthy of our holy lives, by Larry Ward. Thank you.
Om Tare, Tu Tare, Tu Re, Swaha. Om Tare, Tu Tare, Tu Re, Swaha. Om Tare, Tu Tare, Tu Re, Swaha. Om Tare, Tu Tare, Tu Re, Swaha.
Thank you, Danielle. I invite you at this time to adjust your posture and to sit comfortably, but to the best of your ability, as we would describe, sit well. Generally, your feet are flat on the floor, and you can let your hands rest in your lap, just in a way that feels good to you. And you can close your outer eyes. And before we go inward, just take a moment and let your attention move all around this room. Take in all the sensory information you can through your ears. You hear other people coughing or breathing, the music, the HVAC. But you can make a choice to redirect your attention inward. So take your sense of hearing, take your sense of vision, take your sense of touch, and pull them inward and become aware of your own body. The attention goes where, with choice, bring it inward and be aware of your body. Feel your shell. And you have an ability to move this body, but you're choosing to hold it in stillness. Stillness is that physical manifestation of silence. Let's explore the body for a moment. Be aware of the top of your head, but you don't have to move it. Just explore it and notice what comes up as you move your awareness around it. And then your face, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, and then your neck. What are you seeing on the screen of your mind as you explore your shoulders and your arms down to your fingertips? Become aware of your back. And again, noticing sounds, but making a choice to stay focused on your own back. And then your chest and your abdomen, your pelvis, your legs, down to your toes. Feel your body as a whole, held by the chair. Then let the body remain in this stillness and become aware of your breath. So it's as if we're peeling back a layer, moving into a more subtle realm. The breath was there all along, but now you're attending to it. Sounds will flitter through the room, physical sensations will be experienced, but choose to focus on your breath. Notice it coming and going. Maybe you even notice the little aperture, the pause as the breath rounds the corner from an inhalation to an exhalation. And then focus on the breath in your upper abdomen, right below your breastbone, but above your navel. And as you breathe out to the best of your ability, and you don't need to overthink this, you can't do this wrong. As you breathe out, gently pull your abdomen inward, like you're squeezing the air out of a balloon. And as you breathe in, let it just go, which might feel a little counterintuitive if you're newer to this. But as you exhale, you squeeze and tighten the belly. And as you inhale, you let it just go back to center. And let's just take a few moments here, creating a slow, smooth, silent breath. And as you breathe, mind does what mind does. It's going to create pleasant thoughts, maybe daydreaming. And unpleasant thoughts, maybe I'm bored or I'm sleepy. Just notice it. No judgment, and come back to your breath. You cannot do this wrong. Now, the next time you exhale, let your attention go from the top of your head down to the base of your spine. And as you inhale, let the attention go from the base of your spine to the top of your head. So moving in a layer now to the subtler levels of your being, your energy body. As you exhale and the breath goes down, silently, internally, say Om. And as the breath goes up, say Om. And for a few moments, sit here with this descending, ascending, falling, rising Om, traveling along your spine. Again, sounds will flitter through the room. Distractions will come. Stay in your space. Then finally, bring your attention to the center of your chest. Not at the surface of your skin, but deep, deep in your heart, which is really just right in front of your spine. Go deep in that space. Continue to let your body relax in the stillness, to breathe slowly and smoothly. And with every breath, Om. Om dissolving into your heart. Om emerging from your heart. And this is where we're going to stay. Om dissolving into your heart. Om emerging from your heart. No fighting with the mind. If thoughts come up and push and pull you into distraction, you just notice and go back to the Om. And let the Om lead you into that silence that's beyond an absence of sound. Remain in your space. Be aware of the silence. It's one and the same as the center of consciousness. Remain aware of that silence right at the center of you as you reflect on the relative quietness of the mind. Thoughts are there, but there's silence between them. Remain aware of the silence as you notice the smoothness of your breath now. Remain aware of that silence that's underneath as you feel the stillness of your body. Remain aware of that silence that is unity as you gently open your eyes. Namaste.
Thank you, Reverend Avril. Let's give Reverend Avril some thanks for that beautiful message. So we are moving into a time of offering, which can also be said that it's a time of gratitude, right? So there was so much that we were given, so much that we were gifted with today from Chelsea and the band, from Reverend Avril, from our prayer chaplains holding space for us. And so We can give thanks through our tithes and our offering. If you are in the building, we have baskets in the back where you can place your offering, whatever form it takes. As I always say, we're a tech-savvy church. And so you can also text to give by texting the amount to 84321. Now, the old number no longer works. So if you're using text to give, you have to use this new number in order for us to receive that blessing. And if you need some assistance, we've got tables galore downstairs, tables for homecoming, tables for offering, tables for the app. So if you need assistance, if you go downstairs, there is someone there, there is a table there that can help you out. So Chelsea's already up here, so I invite Chelsea. She's already here. Now, I wanted to give you a heads up. Chelsea is going to sing Got to Be Real. So if you don't know the song, heads up, you're going to want to clap and stand on your feet. It's that kind of song. So get your hands ready and welcome Chelsea Douglas.
If you're able to, you guys can stand on your feet, clap your hands. We're going to celebrate in here. Come on. And if you know the words, you can sing it with me too. What you think now? What you feel now? What you know now? To be real. Now as you're trying to sing, let me hear you. What you think now? I think I love you, baby. I feel I need you, baby. To be real. Hey. Ooh, your love's for real now. You know that your love is my love. My love is your love. Our love is here to stay. Yeah. I feel I love you, baby. I feel I need you. To be real, it's got to be real. To be, your love's for real now. You know that your love is my love. My love is your love. Our love is here to stay. I feel I love you. I feel I need you. No, to be real, it's got to be real. To be real, it's got to be real. It's got to be real. It's got to be real. You got to be real. You got to be real. It's 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 got to be real. Oh, yeah. Real, 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 real. Woo! Thank you.
Give it up for Chelsea and the Unity North Band. Oh, stay on your feet. If you're not on your feet, please stand as we sing our closing song. And as we sing this, we are thanking all of the people who made today possible, but also thank you to each and every one of you for all of the beauty and the energy you bring. And I thank you, yes, I thank you for the love you give to me. And I thank you, yes, I thank you for the love you let me be. And I thank you, yes, I thank you for the love you give to me. And I thank you, yes, I thank you for the love you let me be. Thank you to everyone. Have a beautiful week. Be sure to visit downstairs. Lots of people to see and things to do. Have a great week.